So kudos to Brewdog, I think, for doing the right thing. We've got some organisations there which really need to understand how their behaviour is perceived and the damage that it's doing to their organisations.
So it's very easy to look at and think, oh yeah, Met Police, and I'm not going to do my Superintendent Hastings impression at this point, but we all know it's on the tip of our tongue. So it's very easy to look at that, or to look at Brewdog and think, oh, big brands, you know, big institutions with a certain kind of culture, of course they can fall into this trap, and you can other it and think as a leader of a business, that's never going to happen to me. And actually the ingredients of all of this are absolutely there in every business that I've ever worked in or with. You know.
But I just hope that this sort of stuff doesn't stop people talking about what's happening in their organisation, albeit with this is what we're going to say, is this how you really feel? You know, having those sorts of internal conversations as well as the external ones. But, you know, I don't want organisations to sort of hunker down and stop sharing, because that's how everyone learns from these things, isn't it?
And that, I think, trust is something that's missing in these toxic cultures.
You know, people to tell their story and say, we know we're not perfect, or we know we don't always get it right, or actually we got it wrong on that occasion and we're sorry, and this is what we're going to do about it, is actually an incredibly powerful lesson for other people to learn from.
Brene Brown has a really good point in her research, which is that shame doesn't drive change. If you look to shame people, if you look to say, this is toxic, you're a terrible leader, here's another example of why you're a terrible leader, it's us the employees against you, the awful employer, you're not going to make any change there. And if you really do want to see some change, then what you need to do is give feedback in a compassionate way. And if I'm going to go all the way back to transactional analysis, it is adult to adult, not child, you know, rebellious child to controlling parent, for example. When you lead on culture from a marketing and brand and communications point of view, but you don't address really building the behaviours to the culture to really live and breathe, and for that congruence to happen, that gap will just get bigger and bigger if you treat it as a marketing exercise.
You know, I'm a great fan, yes, as you will all know, of the importance of having one brand inside and out, and that you know, what you project externally, your values externally are supported internally with your culture, but they have to be with the behaviours that are lived on a daily basis by everybody, and that's where people struggle. You know, that's where the job often stops. You know, we've defined the values and got some behaviours, that's fine now, we've done our bit. Well, actually, that's just the beginning, isn't it? Typically,
investors don't ask for that, right? When they're looking to invest, they don't ask for you to show the plan around that, but they are more and more. So all the way up to large corporations with environmental, social, corporate governance requirements. Investors are asking for you, so those in stakeholders are asking for it, your customers are asking for it, to Cathy's point, and the wider society is asking for it. So you actually have to build it into your business model from day one.
Jen said, coming up behind, they do not see a difference between you know, the brands that they buy and the the organizations that market them. They expect them to have a purpose and a contribution to society and an honesty and something that they feel they can align with, and they will pay with their, or they will vote with their feet or their their credit cards when it comes to people getting that stuff wrong. So investors have to take this stuff into account.
The other thing about the leaders in that, often as well, the people who start a business aren't the right people to run it. So for the first however many years, that's the sort of culture, that's the sort of person you need, and then when it gets into a more mature business, it's a different type of leader, and not many of them make that sort of change well, and maybe that's what's happening here. Maybe.
So I think there are some shifts in stuff that's always been accepted as, oh, it's just the way it's done around here, it's just how it is in a brewery or in a bar. That stuff isn't going to fly anymore. If you look at all the industries that are having those moments, the pet police, breweries, publishing, film industry, if you are an industry where actually for a long while it's been that's just advertising, it's just how you do things, the day is coming where the generations who are coming through are probably not going to accept it. They're not going to turn a blind eye or brush it off.